the percentage of wages. US is
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you know, wages are quite tricky, aren't they? Wages are quite tricky. It depends on law or many factors, right? The rules and so on. But I have minimum wage or maximum wage or whatever. So it's quite messy there. Maybe that's what it should. You have a,
Oh, no, I agree.
yeah. All right. So, and that's something that needs to be looked into also. That's one thing this is. Then you can dig into the data and try to see why. Okay, good question. No more questions? So this is the kind of thing the MTL has helped us to do. Right? It's amazing what we can do. It's simple here, but we didn't try things. In fact, okay, so let's see what else do I have to say. Now, the value chain approach is the same idea, but they use a different thinking. Yeah. So this is a simple representation of what is in the ecosystem model that therefore we're talking about. So here you have the marine system here, and we have the ecosystem to capture what is happening in the marine forest, right? That's why you people are playing around with this week. So this then tells you how much fish comes into the fishing sector. So you have the fishing sector up here. And that will then, here you have the catch by species, by year, who is doing the catch and so on. What kind of prices they are getting, what kind of cost of fishing, if they get subsidies, all the economic variables for the fishing sector are in there, right? And most of us are actually, we just stop here with our analysis. Now the question is what happens? Fish that goes in there, and it is taken in by intermediary sectors, like the wholesale processors, and so on, the retailers, the restaurants, and all that. So it goes through, and we do this with it, we add some value, and it keeps going until you reach the final consumer. And then again, at this point, what is the profit they are making, what the final number of those household incomes, you can do lots of things. So the value chain is simply following the fish right from the ocean through to when it is consumed or used. And again, we are adding all the value as you go so that you have a cumulative value at the end of the day. Yeah, so this is a simplified one. I just thought I should do this to demonstrate, just to explain a bit more. So imagine that you just have three sectors, right? You have the fishing, the primary one, then you have wholesale and processing belong together, and you have the retail and food services sector. So we assume that's the whole chain, a very short chain here. We're just making sure the industry. So for each sector, then you have to compute what inputs, what are the raw materials that come, what are the intermediary goods that come, both in volume and value. And then you calculate the additional value generated by that sector. So that is, then you look at their output, right? Output of the raw material, because the taking start, they do things and they sell out their output. So you track that one again. And not only that, where does that go? Does it go to final consumption or does it also become an intermediary? You track that. And then you calculate what goes and values. And then all through you are looking out for the added value that comes, which is equivalent to the profit for the sector. Okay? And also you can keep expanding this and you can deepen this model as you go until you get to where you are going. So here, I just said earlier, right? You model your domestic waters if you are domestic, if you are a coastal country. So the model helps you to do that. And that will tell you how your domestic fishery is doing, what they are catching and so on, in terms of the landings. And then some of these landings is probably export. Export can be zero too, but at least you make room for it. But that's not the whole story. That's not all that is taken into the economy here. You also import stuff, right? So you have another eco model that tells you how your foreign fish comes in, foreign fishery fees, then you import, and that joins your own land there, and that is what goes into the whole system, and then you calculate it back. So, just to kind of introduce the whole idea, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, and this is where you come, right? And so, in EcoPath ecosystem, these ideas are taken in. You have the environment here, the ecosystem, fish species, producers. Here we're talking about all the fishing units, right? And then it goes into processors, distributors, sellers, and consumers. And that's what I'm going to give us a little more talk about. If you have any questions, this is your chance. No question, yeah.
No question. I'm wondering if, how much control the market has on all the levels of the intermediaries.
How much the market
Controls or affects, you know, how many distributors and sellers and processors each country or region has.
Yeah. You know, these are all transactions in the market. So in that sense, the market is present. The market is what the supply, the demand for the wholesalers, for example. So the market is there. But your question, I don't kind of get.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to see if the multiplying factor increases too much, then there has to be something that forces the system to simplify so that the multiplier increases.
Yeah, you know, the multiplier doesn't explode. There is a constraint on it. Is that what you're saying? I don't seem to get your question.
Well, we can talk about it.
Yeah, we can talk. Okay. Yeah. Or does somebody understanding? Let's get a conversation going. Maybe there's an answer in the class. I don't know. Okay. No? This is crazy economics, isn't it?
This is this is very different than the life cycle.
Oh yeah, it's different. Big time, yeah.
This is more country-wide calculation.
No, this is economic. So you want to say, if you do something here in one sector, how does it feed into all the other sectors in the economy? And what added value do you get out of that? All right. All right.
Thank you, Professor Rashid. Despite the jet lag. How many of you want to sit for another half hour or take a coffee break?
Coffee.
It's not paid yet, it will be in a few minutes.
So, I take a 5-minute pre-coffee break and then a 15-minute coffee break.